Shalom to the elect of Israel, to the whole flock of Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, Haitians. Gotta give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua. The Most High, the Heavenly Father, his Hebrew name is Yahweh. Not Yahweh, not Jehovah, not God, not Elohim, not Most High, not Lord, not Yah, not Jah, not Lahaya, not Allah, not Abba, not Yahuwah. It's Yahweh. Not Hashem. It's Yahweh. And his only begotten son name in Hebrew is Yahweh Shah. Not Yahshua, not Yeshua, not Jesus Christos, not Jesus Christ. Not Serapis Christos, not Yeshaya, not Yehoshua, not Yahusha. Not what is it? Jesus. It's Yahweh Shah. So gotta give all praises and glory to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rekak Wadash, the one of the apostles and elder bishop, and elders of great millstone who were well, teach well. Who are the apostles and elders of all of Israel, whether accepted or not. And the sincere salutation to all the octane pushing the truth and believing this truth or the four ends of the earth, the entire world, shed light to the whole elect. Shalom to the Akwath who are listening learning. If you sisters who are listening learning. And Mazai from Jeremiah Solano, Count Prophet of Doom. Coming into another lesson in true facts, faith, and edification, and a data edification, Lord wants to be edifying. So this is there is no hope for the last Edomville. Lord wants to be edifying. Now, this Edomite from the plantation, right when I was about to leave today, showed me this site. And it's crazy because I saw this video from Richard Wolf yesterday. And I was like, and he do so many videos, you can't even keep up with this guy, man. In all his videos, as you see, his three right here in front of the screen. Richard Wolf, the economic collapse has already begun 2 days ago. Economic update, resisting Trump's restoration project 1 day ago. This one say American empire is in decline. Economist Richard Wolf. That was 3 weeks ago. But this guy is going hard on the destruction of their last rulership, their last great white hope. So, in this Edomite the plantation, he showed me this article on Yahoo Finance. I'm gonna play this video because the video is right in line with the article that Edomite showed me at the plantation. And I said, man, I'm finna go dig into this because he was like, what America at right now, and it's called U.S. economy contracts at 0.3% rate in Q1 first GDP pullback in 3 years. So he was making a point, and it's in the article. I'm gonna put it up, Lord willing. That where Babylon the Great at, where America at right now is where they was at during 2020, man. This is cold. So, and he was like, what they doing with getting rid of all the employees of these higher up jobs. He said if they get rid of all the employment in Babylon the Great, the employment go up to 10%, and then they can reset the standard on how much they can pay a person, and they can lower the pay rate to what is it called? What's the what's the limit for the employment, the pay rate for the employees? I forget what it's called. But he said they can lower the employment pay if getting rid of all these people from these different jobs. They set the standard, and they can rehire people and say, oh, minimum wage. Right. I'm slow. I ain't eloquent. So he was like the Edomite of plantation. He said the elites using this devil to do this so they can reiterate hiring people and say, oh yeah, minimum wage. And who's going to turn it down? when the jobs is when they took away your IRAs, your 401ks. Now you got the standard is being set, and this happened. And he mentioned this in 2008, the crash or whatever happened, the whatever happened in 2008. These people at Disney, I never forget this. I mentioned it a lot. They had 10 employees that was making hundreds of thousands a year, whatever. So they had like 150,000, 200,000 in 401k. And what they did was they got rid of those 10 employees. This is at Disney World. They had over 150 in 401k. They gave them half of that and got rid of them. And then they set the bar and said they would never let no one get that high up in their company. And this is where all this what they call it, top talent and these different places that hire you through staffing companies, right? You could be at a job for years, but you still do a temp service. So you'll never get up there to get benefits and all that shit. This is what Esau did. So let's play some of this. These devils is crafty, man. These some crafty bastards, man. So let's play some of this. Oh, let me turn this volume down.
The United States is going to be in a very difficult position. It is going to discover that in the end, the only way they are going to ever get manufacturing back, to have anything like a diversified, balanced, or whatever you want to call it, economy, is if they make the wage level in the United States competitive with that where you are. And that means...
See, this is what the Edomite was telling me today, man. And it's crazy because he was telling me this, and I had this video from yesterday. And these devils, hey, Esau's a crafty bastard, man. He's a crafty bastard. Let me run this back. But none of it's going to work. And it's the elite that's doing this.
The United States is going to be in a very difficult position. It is going to discover that in the end, the only way they are going to ever get manufacturing back, to have anything like a diversified, balanced, or whatever you want to call it, economy, is if they make the wage level in the United States competitive with that where you are. And that means that they're going to have to come down on the American working class even more than they already have. And probably the way they're going to do that is by basically freezing wages as much as they can and increasing prices, having an inflation here to accomplish this job for them.
And I can't make this up. This Edomite, the plantation, I don't know who this spirit is in this devil, but he was talking about this. And I saw this video yesterday, but I didn't watch the whole video. He was talking about this shit today. And then before I left, he gave me an article. He said, Azariah, look at this. And I said, oh shit, I'm finna go dig into this. I'm finna play this and show you the fucking article that he gave me, man. And I know it's the Lord because everything is spiritual in the Hopeful Lex life, man. It's all spiritual. He mentioned everything that this guy's saying. I don't know what he had in his life, who he watching. I don't know. All I know is the Lord gave me this to give it to the flock. Listen to this shit.
And that is going to provoke, and that I can assure you, social trouble in the United States.
Hold on. We're on the 52 seconds here. I'm going to run this back, and I'm going to let it ride for a minute. Lord willing.
You're seeing all this going to discover that in the end, the only way they are going to ever get manufacturing back, to have anything like a diversified, balanced, or whatever you want to call it, economy, is if they make the wage level in the United States competitive with that where you are. And that means that they're going to have to come down on the American working class even more than they already have. And probably the way they're going to do that is by basically freezing wages as much as they can and increasing prices, having an inflation here to accomplish this job for them. And that is going to provoke, and that I can assure you, social trouble in the United States. You're seeing all the signs of it, whether it's in a renewed militancy of our labor movement, which is renewed in a way it hasn't been for half a century, and in the young people of the country who are facing situations no one prepared this generation for. There aren't jobs, there is no career advancement. Just to give you an example, most of my students used to become professors. Now, most of my students can't get jobs as professors and are doing something else. And the assault on the universities is part of that larger project of redesigning the United States so it can compete with the permanent objective, no burden on corporations and the rich. Or if any burden is on them, it is going to be much greater on the rest of the population. Those are the imperatives that govern the policy around here. And other than that, they don't have anything. I mean, think what it means to grab the Panama Canal or to grab Greenland. Those are acts of desperation. You know, taking land, there are no people, taking land where you don't even know what's there, taking control of a canal that you had perfect free access to anyway. This is almost like a caricature of colonialism, which I suspect is its desperate last breaths. And other than that, there is no program here. None. They're still stuck in the old laissez-faire notion, you know, the Anglo-American notion that whatever is private is somehow better than whatever is run by the state. And so they still have to do at least verbal, but also real policy accommodation of that idea. So that limits them in terms of what they can have the state do. Let's remember, in our country, the Republican Party for a century has had one basic appeal to the mass of people, and that is low taxes. We won't tax you, we'll cut taxes, we'll remove taxes, we're against taxes. That's their defining issue. Their leader now is imposing taxes and involving the government in intervention in the economy that makes a joke out of libertarian ideology. It's easy in this country to point to a big, loud libertarian who's actively intervening on every possible level in the economy to make it work. The transition to economic nationalism is real here, but the mentality of the people doing it hasn't adjusted yet. My guess is, I understand it's a guess, that across the global south, and for that matter, in Japan and in Europe as well, there is now a recognition slowly settling into the minds of the employer, the capitalist class, that all transactions with the United States have become more dangerous, less profitable, and more uncertain, and that they have to respond to that. Some of them hope that they can wait it out. Others will be acting right away. And the greater success of those acting right away will force the rest of them to do the same. And what will that be? It will be reorienting their economies towards the BRICS. That is, China, India, those are the new poles of the world economy. If you can't do business with the United States, given the problems of Europe, you are going to be looking for sure at the global south. Yes, it's poorer. Yes, I understand all that, but you don't have much choice anymore if you're going to salvage your situation in a time of disruption like this. So I think you're going to see, I think you are already seeing the desperate textile workers in Lesotho or the vanilla people in Madagascar and so on. They are going to have to look, even if in the best case scenario, the tariff were reduced or removed, they still just had the experience and they understand that it could be reinstated, it could be raised, and given the problems of the United States, that's the likely outcome. And so you better protect yourself. You've been warned, at the very least, by what you are now seeing. And that means also disengaging from the dollar to whatever extent you can, and looking elsewhere for the whole strategic growth. The financial sector has informed the government of the United States that this endless running of budgetary deficits, and for example, this year the projected deficit is $2 trillion in 1 year for the United States, and it has been running trillion-dollar deficits for several years now, on and off. It has been told you can't keep doing this because we are not willing to lend to you because you are approaching a time when, for example, the amount of your budget going for defense, and you know in our country we don't call it War Department, we call it Defense Department. There's a very important ideological move that we need to do. But the money in the budget going for defense, plus the money going to service the debt, is making it impossible to do much else in this society.
And that's the will of Yahweh Bahasham Yahushua. Joel 3, the Lord said, beat your plowshares and the swords and the pruning hooks and the spears. Then you got Habakkuk 2, as it reads, matter of fact, let me read it. See, what's left is to all this debt. Listen, take all that and put that on military, man. And it's simple. We listen to these guys, right? We listen to these guys, these economists like Richard Wolff, Chris Hedges, and these guys. And the Lord is just, it tell you, Paul said in the 2 Corinthians 11, it's the simplicity in Yahweh Shai, man. And he just said two of these things, Habakkuk 2 and 6. Should not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his, and to him that laden himself with thick clay, which is debt. So this is all about intercontinental ballistic missiles, which the scriptures say in Joel 2 that America would not have a defense system against Russia, Iran, and China when they shoot those intercontinental ballistic missiles off. But this is where we at, man.
Society. And so, for example, you see that one of the initiatives of Mr. Trump, handled by Mr. Musk, is to savage the public employment at the federal level. All right. Mm-hmm. Now you can begin to see this is a step to show that the spending side of the budget is being reduced. And it's being reduced at the expense, brilliantly clear, which is the working class.
And it's all leading to the Sea Hill, man. This is the strategic move that the elites is doing, man. And it's all conditioning through gradualism, which is going to play out through order of chaos, man. See, out of chaos, the elites will get order, but it's going to lead to sedition.
Working people being fired by the federal government, who then must find work in the private sector, which drives down the wages and working conditions there in the usual demand and supply, adding to the impact on wages that comes from bringing in the working class of the global South. So you have that on the one hand. Then on the other, the prohibition on taxing corporations and the rich, which neither the Republicans nor the Democratic Party dare to do in this society. So you can't raise the money there. And the spending cuts, however dramatic they make the news, are nowhere near big enough to begin to deal with this on a massive basis. So what is the government left to do. It has to reduce the deficit. It can do it partly by savaging the working class, but it can't add to the dismissal of the workers a big tax on the working class. It would produce, even in the United States, unsustainable trouble from below. So here comes...
This is what's happening. We keep talking about it. I bring this shit out every week. Isaiah 3:1. The Lord is going to take away the stay and the staff, man. That's your protection and your comfort, which is the government, the system. Psalm 73, the Lord said he's going to despise their image. This is the system. So after the Lord take away the stay and the staff, which is your comfort and your protection, then he's going to take away your food and water. And he's using the so-called white man to do it. And Jake is not considering, the Lord say, consider
Mr. Trump's innovation. He can tax, hopefully, you, the rest of the world. He can put a tariff on the whole world, hoping thereby somehow to raise the money. And how is it? Well, let's go through it. Number one, hopefully, exporters in the global south facing the tariff will lower their prices. They absolutely intend that that will happen to some degree. And number two, the extra price will be passed to the American consumer because they will have to pay whatever is not reduced price of the exporter. And by calling it a tariff, half the American people still do not understand that a tariff is a tax. They actually believe, and Mr. Trump has repeatedly said, that the tariff punishes the global south, making it more ideologically acceptable. And though it's not understood, but that's the plan. Inasmuch as there is any plan, the point of the tariff is to, I'm exaggerating, but I want to drive the point home. The point of the tariffs is to be the other side of reduced government spending on programs and workers as a good faith sign to the financial class that the creditworthiness of the United States is being attended to by this government. And the beauty of it is the impact on the rich and the corporations is totally minimized. They are not taxed. They are not required. They are being pandered to by this adjustment that puts the burden of recalibrating at a time of declining empire, the government's budget, which is otherwise an early sign of just how many problems are accumulating. I think...
And Edomville said this morning, he was like, man, and when I said this guy talked to me about so much every day. He ain't there tomorrow. He off tomorrow. This guy, he gonna come back Friday and hit me with some whole other shit, man. But he was like, they were showing the cameras this morning of the ports in Washington and California, and there wasn't no ships, man, in sight. Hey, these Edomites, they kingdom falling, man. And I say, listen, just as much as you watch geopolitics, I do too, man. And he gave me this article. I'm going to play it, Lord willing, after this lesson. I ain't going to play all of this. I just want you to hear, because in this article, I'm going to read some of this, is what Richard Wolff is talking about, man. And I'm like, man, is he watching these? I'm sure he is. He got to be. He got to be. But it's all, they kingdom falling, man. And I'm listening to Elder Malcolm earlier, and he just said, hey, ain't no hope for the so-called white man. And that precept that I've been reading for a while now in Job 11:20, that it said the wicked shall not escape. And their hope is just to give up the ghost, man. So I heard Elder Malcolm saying in the lesson I was watching earlier today at the plantation, listening to, hey, America is through, man.
Tariffs are symbolic of what the United States is now prepared to do in a desperate effort to hold on to its position. That the very contradictions we point to in how you both undermine and yet reinforce the dollar abroad, that's a sign of a transition. It's like the wind letting us know that the climate, the heat is going to come or it's going to go. These are the signs that you're seeing. And in case people are not aware, this administration is also taking extraordinary steps to make the effort at moving manufacturing here more difficult. So be very careful. The language of Mr. Trump is about returning manufacturing. But that has been the language of the last 8 presidents of the United States, every one of which promised to do it, and not a single one of which achieved this promise. It was an empty promise. And I see Mr. Trump caught in a bind. To give you an example, he is spending huge amounts of money and thereby worsening his deficit on a program of deporting undocumented workers, mostly from Central America, but from other parts of the world as well. Very costly reduction in the most profitable workers, because undocumented workers.
And the Edomite said this too, man. That's why it's beautiful how the Lord had me to watch this video yesterday. The Edomite plantation said, so Trump removing these undocumented workers, which Richard Wolff just said. What is that going to do, man? The ones that's getting deported and the ones that's still here, they are hiding. So this is going to drive employment 10%, which put them in the power to say, oh yeah, you can come back as minimum wage or no go. What you gonna do? You don't got no fucking choice. You gotta go back. Spirit stopped at 11:44. Can't make this shit up. You either gonna come back a minimum wage. What you gonna do? What you gonna do if they take your job? And then say, we'll rehire you, but it's gonna be for the minimum wage. What the fuck can we do? Nothing. The Lord, Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua, is taking away the stay in the staff, the whole stale bread, and the whole stale water, and we are watching this happen. This ain't our rest, to tell you, Micah 2:10. So there's nothing you can do about it.
Are given the lowest paid jobs and are often swindled by their employers because they cannot risk going to the authorities since they don't have documentation. And if they complained about not being paid, they will be thrown out of the country. Okay, we're talking millions.
That applies to those that's rightfully United States citizens, man. Because he said this about a month ago. He said, Isaiah, if you go to me and you go after work and go to our ATM machine and try to pull money, we can't get it. Who we gonna complain to? No fucking body. Nobody. What is it? City Bank, whatever. These different banks, as Future Real was telling me earlier, Citibank, the brother Kabar War was doing a lesson on this. The people money, they can't get their money. What is it, Citibank? I think it is. What you gonna do? The people that had their money in what's this is out here in California? Is it Seneca Valley? Not Seneca Valley. What's the name of the place? I'm thinking about 2 different places. Thinking about the park in New York. I'm tripping. Not Monsanto's. What's the other one? But this nigga Biden went on fucking TV and said, this was last year. If you had over 250, if you had $1 million in the bank, they can only refund you $250,000. This nigga Trump got on Biden got on TV and said, we can refund you $250,000 of your money. That's it. And he said, you know how the game. This is what this nigga said live on fucking TV. You know how the banks work. You know how the economy works. and you just got to take that loss. So I had $1 million in the bank, and y'all did this bullshit. What they at least did. So you telling me you only can fund me $250,000 on my $1 million, and I just got to shut the fuck up and take it? Yeah, you do. Who can you run to when you looking for love? Hey, this is why we are not to be caught up in the fashion of this world, man.
Of people. You know what that does? That pushes wages up. It's very clear. Yep. And we've already had whole industries, for example, agriculture, example, meat processing, example, low-wage service workers.
And they're removing by Bill Gates said human resources. They said, I did a video on this about a month ago, no, maybe some months ago, last year, that they don't need human resources anymore. So they're removing the people from dealing with crops, for as planting and plucking. They're using AI to plant the crops and then harvest them. They don't need human resources anymore. This nigga, original hot boy BG, Bill Gates, done bought up over 2,700 acres of land in America. Farmland. America is only 5,000 square miles. From fucking California to New York to fucking Wyoming to Texas is only 5,000 square miles of America, man. This nigga done bought up 2,700 acres. We don't need cattle. They fart too much. So now we got Impossible Meat, Beyond Burgers, and all this trash ass 3D printed steaks. Fucking devils, man.
In big institutions, complaining bitterly, the employers, that they're losing their labor force and are being forced to.
The Lord said in Hosea 4, he have a controversy with the inhabitants of the land. Why? Because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushua in the land. Therefore, the land shall mourn. It say, with the beasts of the field, the fowls of heaven, and the fishes of the sea shall be taken with the people. We are watching the Lord remove the comfortability of Jake, and they are not fucking considering what's really going on.
To pay much higher wages to native-born people whom they cannot exploit on the scale that they could the undocumented. This is not a good message to potential manufacturers elsewhere who don't want to spend the money to move their production, who don't want to reorganize their supply chains, who don't want to take the risk of doing all of that, when in fact tomorrow the tariff structure may change and all of that will have been wasted. And now on top of it, they're facing a likelihood of rising wages in the United States. And Lord knows how he's going to be dealing with that. So you have some indication the state of Florida has decided, in view of the absence of undocumented workers, they have decided to change the law to allow teenagers to be worked the way undocumented workers were. And that's a very important state for our agriculture. Child labor is returning. That's another sign of desperation. They don't know where or how to go. And my guess is the return of manufacturing is something you say, but it is a slow, difficult process, and the very
Hey, Shalom Zakwan, Yabashima Shabrakata. Shalom to the Akuman, I walk to the end, Yabashima Shabrakata. Yep, that's it though, sister. Yep, Silicon Valley, man. I forget the name of the damn bank. These people lost their money and they only refunded them $250,000, man. Hey, and this Edomite the plantation, man, he was saying all this, man. This is what Esau doing. But it's conditioning through gradualism, because it's all leading to the sea hill. Problem, reaction, solution.
Certainty of the tariffs, on again, off again, up it, lower, And then constant comment by Mr. Trump that he's going to work it out with foreign leaders, with Xi Jinping or Mr. Modi or whoever. So we don't even know what the end result of the pattern of tariffs will be. These are all measures that preclude manufacturing from coming back. I don't think that's a serious objective anymore. I think they're desperately trying to manage their budget, and they're doing it at the expense cheaply of foreign workers whom they can eject with the least political opposition, and tariffing the whole world and hoping that that works and that it will at least give them a few more years in which to borrow less and thereby placate the financial sector. But it
And you know, the Edomite told me today too. He said, with this whole 2020, right? He said that shit didn't work. I said, yeah, it did work. He said maybe they killed the ones that they wanted to kill, right? But he was like, because it didn't do what they expected it to do, so now they doing this to take away everything else that whoever didn't die in 2020, starting in March, this right here is wiping them out, man. Because it took away all the mom and pop spots. And then I told him, I said, you know what this devil doing? He's wiping out all independency, man. Just like this, what was this? Target said they wasn't doing that shit no more with the people that, the independent people. They said, and they went on damn Jake. It's mostly Edomites that got these LLC businesses and selling their stuff in places. I forget what it's called. It's been a couple months now. I forget. But it's mostly Edomites on that shit, man. These devils is wiping out all that independent shit is out the window, man. This nigga Trump said they gonna take over the damn post office. Like, nigga, the government already own that shit. What are you talking about? No, they talking about privately owning shit, man. Which is in the law, in the bill. Let me pull it up right here. I think I saved it to the phone. What is it called? In the fucking bill. It's called rainy day. Right? So what these devils is doing, hold on here. They can confiscate anything you got more. Bear with me. Let me grab this phone. It's called the executive orders. Anything more than a week's worth of food, they can confiscate it. I thought I had saved it. Anything worth a week's worth of food, they can take it. I forgot the name of the bill, but it's called executive orders. I'm trying to see, what did I save it to? Because I got it. And that's what these devils doing, man. They taking over because it's already on the books for them to do it. Let me play this while I find this.
is that, it is desperation on a longer term decline. And it leaves me wondering, how will the employer class in Europe, or for that matter, in the global South, how are they going to reposition themselves in relationship to a declining empire desperately taking these disruptive steps? There's a name for companies that have been for several years so deeply in debt that they don't make enough profit to service their debt. That is, to pay the interest and the portion they have to repay. And we have a special name in economics for them. I kid you not, I didn't make this up. Zombie corporations, because they're dead. They're economically defunct. You know how they manage to survive when their profits aren't enough to cover their debts? They take on more debt to pay the debt they couldn't otherwise cover. That makes them more zombie-ish next year than they were this year, which is what's happening. You might wonder, who lends money to all these indebted people, businesses, and government? Well, let me start with the government, because if you thought the world was crazy before, wait till you get this. The two biggest creditors of the United States government are Japan and China. Japan number one, China number two. A few years ago, it was the other way. China was number one, Japan was number two. The United States is the biggest debtor country in the world by countries. The second biggest creditor of the United States as the biggest debtor is the People's Republic of China. Do you understand? The United States owes China $850 billion, roughly. It has to pay interest, of course, on that debt, like it has to pay on others, which means I'm here to tell you that a portion of the taxes every one of you in this room pays when you buy a bottle of beer, or you smoke a cigarette, or you pay your taxes, a portion of that money, you should be very pleased, is collected by the United States government, not used for houses or medical care or student loans, but shipped to China as interest on the debt to enable them to build their military capacity to fight the United States. Hello. I didn't make this up. On the other hand, think of it this way. These kinds of loans from Japan, from China, enable the United States government to spend all the money Dr. Leon told us about in Ukraine without having to tax us. Because you know what would bring the war in Ukraine to an end in about 10, maybe 11 seconds? If Americans had to pay for it. But we don't. The Chinese and the Russian, and China, by the way, supports Russia against Ukraine, but lends government money to the United States, which pays for the Ukrainians. Whoa. You think you ought to pay respect to a system working like this? Think. We are in a completely different world than we once were. The empire is declining. We are not strong. We are weak. Here's how it works. Every empire, as it goes down, has the following procedure of handling it. The people at the top, the rich and the powerful, respond to the decline by saying, oh, this is terrible, but not for me. The top always offloads the difficulties and burdens of a decline onto those people less powerful and less rich than themselves. The emperor in Rome didn't suffer the way the average people did. The emperor in Persia or the emperor in Greece, it doesn't matter. All the empires show the same phenomena. Those at the top hold on, work harder than they used to hold on, because they know damn well it's going down. And who can't do that are the people who don't have much power and the people who don't have much wealth. And so the working class has to be, one way or another, squeezed as you go down. And we, you, me, we're all being squeezed. And in our naivete, we turn to the Republican and Democratic Party. Protect us. They can't. Oh, they'll tell you whatever you want to hear. You know that. We live in that. But they can't do anything, because the only real thing to do would be to say honestly to the people, well, our empire's going down. It's going to be a hard thing. And maybe we all ought to get together to try to get through this difficulty together. Well, that would be an interesting idea. Would have a name like, I don't know, socialism. That would be rational. We don't live rational. How do you squeeze the mass of people? A lot of ways. It's a little bit like that famous poem, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. How am I going to screw the working class? Let me count the ways. So for 40 or 50 years, we make sure that unions can't function. They can't do what they were invented to do, help the workers get a better deal. Not going to get that. We're going to demonize unions. We're going to make every union look like it's, that movie On the Waterfront, a bunch of crooks that are grabbing your dues every week. You've been living your life in that kind of an environment. It's changed the last few years as working people begin to get it. The Starbucks workers are beginning, and the Amazon workers are beginning. The labor movement is kind of coming back to life. but it's coming late in the process of squeezing the working class. Here's another way you squeeze the working class. You have this thing which you say is some kind of mystery. It's called an inflation. What? An inflation sounds like something you do to a balloon. What is an inflation? In economics, it just means prices are going up. But now let's be a little bit more careful. If you know anything about the inflation of the last few years, here's a little statistic. The inflation has gone up faster than average wages and salaries of people. Okay, now I'm going to do this very difficult arithmetic. If the money you have to spend, your wages and salaries, are not going up as fast as the prices, there are going to be things you can't afford anymore. You know, really special, expensive things like eggs. The inflation in eggs is due to bird flu. I'm not going to be mean, but half of you believe that, and the other half of you think it might be true. Here's what an inflation is. It's a decision made by some people to jack up the price you have to pay for the things they can control the prices of. Who sets prices in a capitalist economy? Answer: the employer. Those of you who have had jobs all your life as workers, do you ever recall being called into an office to add your opinion as to what the price should be of what you helped to produce? Never happened. The United States Census tells us 3% of Americans are employers. Welcome to the other 97%. That's you and me. The employers set the prices. We pay them. When they jack up the price, that's because they want to give us fewer of whatever it is they make for the money we have to give them. It's a way of screwing the working class. And that's how it's been used in the last few years. And all these economics professors, including many of mine and people I know, sit around debating, how are we going to control the inflation? What is it? How does it happen? I sit there, I'm one of their students. I want to run up there and hit them over the head with a ping pong paddle. What are you doing? What is this noise coming out of your mouth? Their decision is we're going to deal with it by raising interest rates. Oh, wow, this is wonderful. Who gets screwed when you raise an interest rate? In case you're not rich yourself, I'm going to tell you, it's not rich people. They don't give a flying whether the interest rate is 2%, 6%. They're rich. That's what it means to be rich. You don't.
And the brother just put this up. Let me read this real quick. So he put up the different translations. Put up Habakkuk, GMS, Yarosop, hopeful elect 777. Habakkuk 2 and 6 in the NASB 20. Will all of these not take up a song or ridicule against him? The taunting proverb, even they saying, and what's that? Insinuation against him, and say, woe to him who increaseth what is not his, for how long, and Salakia ain't put it up, and make himself rich with debts. And that's Babylon. He put up the AMP. Will all these victims of his greed not take up a taunting song against him and in mocking derision against him? Say, woe, judgment is coming to him who increased that which is not his. How long will he possess? And woe to him who makes himself wealthy with loans. That's Babylon the Great America, man. That's cold. Let's go back to this.
Don't care. But you have to care, because it's going to mean that little bit of money at the end of the month that you have to pay on your credit card is going to be bigger than it was before. And everything works like that. The rich don't care. You know what that's like? It's like, I'm going to stick it to you now for a moment, congestion pricing. Oh, good. We have a problem in New York with traffic. This should come as hot news since it's only been true for a century. And we're going to finally do something. Oh, really? Yeah, what?
So yeah, I want to show some of that. So I want to come back to me, and I want to get this this article real quick. Lord willing. So let's drop this. Let me pull this up here. So this is the article the guy showed. Oh, so this right here, I found this funny because this nigga Trump say that Biden is the reason. See, it say Trump blames Biden as U.S. economy goes into reverse. This nigga Trump saying it's Biden's fault. Right there. You see it. All this extra on the screen. I don't know what the hell is this. But yeah. So it reads. It say President Donald Trump pointed the finger of blame at the former President Joe Biden after data showed the U.S. economy had shrunk for the first time in 3 years. The Bureau of Economic Analysts said the U.S. economy contracted by 0.3% between January and March, due mostly to a large spike in imports as businesses stockpiled in anticipation of Trump's promised tariffs. Markets opened down as a result. So this nigga saying it was Biden. Now let me get this, because this is what the Edomville plantation showed me today. This is cold, man. Because I was looking at this and I listened to this video yesterday from Richard Wolf. So it says here, make sure it's sharing. So it says here, U.S. economy contracts at 0.3 rate in Q1, first GDP pullback in 3 years. So it said the U.S. economy contracted for the first time in 3 years to start 2025 as a surge in imports dragged down GDP and prices increased more than forecast. Oh, and the word forecast, I did this lesson about some months ago. Let's get this word forecast real quick. This word forecast, oh man, this word forecast, it says, oh man, oh, so like it. Forecast, predict or estimate a future event or trend. It's a predict, prophecy, or prophesy, Salakia, predict, prophesy. It got prognosticate, foretell, foresee, forewarn, estimate, speculate, expect, reckon, precise, vindicate. But the words is foresee, foretell, prognosticate, predict, prophecy, or prophesy, Salakia, divine, forewarn. That's what forecast mean. The Bureau of Economic Analysis, Salakia, analysis, slow down, analysis, advanced state, estimate, what is it? Analyst, Salakia. Advanced estimate of first quarter U.S. gross domestic product, GDP, show economic growth contracted at an annualized rate of 0.3 during the year's first 3 months, more than the 0.2 decline expected by economists surveyed by Bloomberg. The reading came in significantly lower than the 2.4 rate of growth seen in the fourth quarter of 2024. Now, I just want to show this right here. Let me tap on this right here. U.S. GDP growth turns negative in Q1 2025. And this is what the Edomite showed me today at the plantation. So right here it said Q1 2022, right? And Q1 2025. So right here in Q1 2022, it was at negative 1%. Right here in 2025 is at negative 0.3. Both of these is with Trump ass. It reads, Salakia, the decline was driven by a large surge in imports, which are a subtraction in the calculation of GDP. Imports surged at an annualized rate of 41.3 in the first quarter as companies front-loaded orders ahead of anticipated tariffs from the Trump administration. The surge in imports was good for a negative 1% for a negative 5% contribution to the GDP calculation in the first quarter. And it's this nigga. And this was the Edomite that showed me this. He said, man, it's the same as in COVID during the time of 2020 to now. It was Trump, man. Final sales of goods to domestic purchasers, another sign of demand in the economy, grew at 3% annualized rate in the first quarter, above 2.9 seen in the fourth quarter of 2024. Trade was a huge influence. Financial Services Group chief economist Gus Faucher told Yahoo Finance, we saw companies bringing in a lot of imports to try to get ahead of tariffs. We saw a huge build in inventories, but when you look at underlining demand, consumer spending growth, that was still pretty solid. The core personal consumption exponentials index, which excludes the volatile food and energy categories, grew by 3.5 in the first quarter, above estimates for 3.2% and above the 2.6% seen in the prior quarter. The report measures economic activity through the first 3 months of the year ended in March, meaning it covers how the U.S. economy functioned ahead of President Trump's tariffs, but not after the president's April the 2nd announcement that increased the effective tariff rate to its highest level in more than a century. So the Lord is using this man to destroy, to divide and conquer, man. A general overall view of the United States flag on the field, saxophonist Michael Phillips performed the national anthem before the game, the Arizona Cardinals and the Los Angeles Rams. Who gives a damn? Place is through, man. Anyway, I just saw that, and when the Edomite see it, 2021, then 2022 it dropped. Then here it dropped again in 2025. Hey, call out how about Shema Shah? Because the kingdom can't come until the so-called white man's his last great white hope be destroyed. And the Lord said, the Amalek was the first of the nations, and the latter end shall be that they shall perish, man. So we are watching the Lord destroy the last Edomville, man. And as Elder Malcolm was making a point today that the Edomites don't got no hope. And they don't got no hope, man. So this is Job 11:20. And it reads, they don't got no hope, man. But the eyes of the wicked shall fail, and they shall not escape, and their hope shall be as the giving up of the ghost. We are watching their kingdom fall. Let me close with this Job 24. This is Job 24:20. Job 24:23. Though it be given him to be in safety, whereon he resteth. That's the Edomites, the elites. Because this don't apply to the average white person. Yet his eyes are upon their ways, because the angels is watching. They are exalted for a little while, but are gone and brought low, which is the prophecy in Genesis 3:14. They are taken out of the way as all other, and cut off as the tops of the ears of corn. If it be not so, who shall make me a liar and make my speech nothing worth? Okay, so Lord was edifying. Got to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh. Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rikak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and elder bishops and elders, great millstone who rule well, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all Israel, whether accepted or not. In the sincere salutation to all the occupant pushing this truth and believing this truth with the four winds of the earth, the entire world shall light to the whole elect. Shalom to the outward for listening learning. If you sister listen learning, the wife tuning in, may Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai continue blessing your houses. May the blessing of relations be upon your houses. To the next time I say Shalom, ball. I know this ain't really, a lot of precepts going into this, but I just wanted to show this right here, this article. I got it from the Edomite, the plantation, man. This what excites me, because the Edomite gave me this article, and then I'm listening to this guy, Richard Wolf, yesterday, and everything that Edomite was telling me today, Richard Wolf said it in this article, man. This is the brother GMS Yahweh Sop, hopefully elect 777. Job 27:8. For what is the hope of the hypocrite? It's beautiful, bro. Though he have gained when God taketh away his soul. That's fire. Hey, because they don't got no hope, man. Verse 9. Will God hear his cry when trouble cometh upon him? And that's a no, man. A big fat no, man. Hate the water, bro, for posting that. That's fire. Let's read this again. Job 27:8. For what is the hope of the hypocrite? Who? The so-called white man, Esau, Edom, the dukes of Edom, the dukedoms, Amalek, man. Though he have gained when God taketh away his soul. You know what? I got to get this. I can't even move. I can't even slide off like that. To lay back that precept right there. This is Proverbs. Let me get this. Is that Proverbs 28? This is Proverbs 28:8. He that by usury and unjust gain increaseth his substance, he shall gather it for him that will pity the poor. And there's another one in Job. Let me get this one in Job, if I can remember it. That may be the one too in Job 27. Let me see here. Is it Job 27? Yep, Job 27:15. No, Job 27:16. Though he heap up silver as the dust and prepare raiment as the clay, he may prepare it, but the just shall put it on, and the innocent shall divide the silver. Yeah, ate the water, bro. That precept is fire. Again, Job 27:8 from the brother GMS Yahweh Sop, hopefully elect 777. For what is the hope of the hypocrite, though he have gained when power, Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, taketh away his soul? Will God hear his cry when troubleth cometh upon him? No, man. No. And we are watching the so-called white man's last Edomville, his last great white hope crumble, man. The worms covered them, and the worms spread under them, as it say in Isaiah 14:11. Hey, so throughout for tuning in. May Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shah continue to bless you in your houses. May the blessing of Alexa be upon your houses. Till next time, I say Shalom. Wa Abba. Hey, the wallet for your precepts. The wallet for tuning in.